I am so amazed by how many people are here tonight. Oh, sorry. I run a coalition in the towns of Milford, Bellingham, Mendon, Upton, and Hopedale. And it has been running for the past 10 years. It's called the Juvenile Advocacy Group. And our group, it started out just in Milford, and realizing, just as everybody has said, that this issue with substance abuse isn't just in the town of Milford, it's everywhere. So we connected all of our communities together and brought professionals, school people, clergy, and youth, and the hospital, and all these different organizations together for the last 10 years to really look at networking and pooling all of our resources together so that we could make a bigger difference. We've been fortunate enough to receive a lot of grant funding from the state to make some of these environmental changes in regards to prevention of substance issues, and then also addressing the substances that are the people who are currently using substances. So a lot of what we do is we look at youth empowerment, we look at accessing services, and we look at really the adult connection, the relationships that we have, the youth-adult collaboration, to build on those protective factors that we can help to reduce the risks of kids using drugs or alcohol. So I do that in one hat, looking at the coalition and really building on the network of people and the resources. In my other job, I opened a private counseling practice, and I do mostly counseling with substance abuse individuals or people who are suffering with mental health. And on a daily basis, everybody will ask me, my clients will come in and they'll say, why aren't I getting better? Why aren't I better now? What's wrong with me? Why am I doing this wrong? And one of the biggest things that I have to tell them is they're not alone. That many people look at their own lives, and we all feel inadequate. All of us sitting here, at some point or another, we had a day one of something that we were starting to do, a new diet, a new workout, something like that. And we get so discouraged by eating that chocolate cake or buying that pair of shoes that we really didn't need when we needed to pay the phone bill or something. And it's all about us looking at it as, even though this person has a drug addiction, they're looking as that drug as the solution to the bigger problem. And so how I work with a lot of my clients, people will say, how do you do this every single day dealing with this? And I really look at it as, I'm trying to help them. We all have this mind that is filled with this mental obsession about something. It could be the worrying of our kids, it could be, the comparing ourselves to somebody else, or the body image things, and that is the problem. And the solution, the drug addict has the solution to get high, to numb themselves. Us in this room, we don't have that. Some of us don't have that solution, and we have to sit with it, and we have to figure out how to deal with it. And I say to all my clients that are struggling in early recovery is, unfortunately, you have a solution to deal with all of the demons and the obsessions and the cravings that you have. But your poor parents, they don't have that. They're sitting every day and night worrying about you and trying to, put it back to make this real, to make them understand what is the problem that led you here, that led you to the opiates, to the heroin, to all those different things, and trying to get them to realize it. It is a challenging job. But I have to say that one of the biggest things that I am grateful for is the network of people. Walking into this room, Jeff, we do a lot of collaboration. There's people in the hospital, they call, they get in. Peter from American Addictions, we collaborate via text message to get people into detox, into programs, and it's working. So there's a lot of different things. It's all about connecting those resources and trying to just make some change on a bigger perspective. So, thank you.
Now, the next gentleman that's here, I met him early on in my tenure as a state representative. It's Ed Hurley. He's the president of the Hockomock Area YMCA. And I've come to know him greatly over the past 3 years, and always inspiring. And when I thought about the YMCA's current motto, where cause meets community, I couldn't think of a better person that I'd asked to share a few words here tonight about his partnership with Franklin and the YMCA. Ed Hurley.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be here representing the YMCA, our staff, our volunteers, and quite frankly, our membership. I'm very proud of the organization. I'm proud of how the work we do every day, we do it in partnership and in collaboration with others. That's the way we operate. What are the community needs and what role can we play in helping to address those? Our focus clearly is on families and kids. This one was a little bit of a challenge. When Jeff asked me about it, my first thought was, absolutely we'll be there. And then I'm thinking, what can we really bring to the table? We're not content experts in this area. It isn't what we do. We've got great staff that do amazing work. We've got partners in the community. But I think what we can do, and what I pledge to all of you here tonight, the Y wants to be a part of this coalition. We want to provide any support we can. Most importantly, we want to be a resource. Dr. Hopkins and I were talking briefly earlier about connecting the dots. That's what tonight is all about. That's why we're all here. And I want you to know that any role we can play as a YMCA, we're proud to be part of the community of Franklin, the relationship we have with the schools and with the town and so many others in this community and the other 14 communities we serve. We want to be part of the solution. We want to be a resource. We'll be there for families who are going through challenging times. And I'd ask all of you to let us know if there's families who could use the help and support and services the YMCA provides, because we'll do that in a confidential way, and in a way that's going to help them get through a challenging period. So, as others have said, thank you all for being here tonight, for being a concerned and a committed community, and we look forward to working with all of you in the months and years ahead.
The next young lady that's going to come up, Jennifer Knight, is probably the reason we are here tonight. In October of 2014, I got an email from Jennifer saying, and it began, "Remember me." And Jennifer was a high school student at Franklin High when I was on the school committee, and she was leading the charge of a club sport of female hockey players who wanted to be a varsity sport. And as soon as she put that little piece in there, I said, "Oh, I remember Jennifer very well." And I'm pleased to see that she's gone on, graduated from Franklin High, graduated from college, and is working in the counseling field. And she's going to share with you some of the things that she's already got up and running working in this area. So, Jennifer Knight.
Everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Roy. Thank you for that lovely history lesson of my life. My name is Jennifer Knight, and I am a longtime resident, of Franklin. I graduated from Franklin High School in 2004. I was a Panther. I was an athlete. It was wonderful. I then went on to Framingham State. And after Framingham, I moved to California. And I spent 6 years in California and recently moved back in August. Upon moving back here, I would go to restaurants and out with friends. I would see parents of people that I went to high school with, and many, many times, over and over again, people would say, "How are you? How was your trip to California? Here's what's going on in my life." And time after time after time, the stories were sad. There was a lot of stories where people really didn't know where to turn and what to do, and typically the stories had to do with drugs, and more specifically heroin. Myself, knowing that I have a history of living in Franklin, absolutely loving it, and being in the field of helping people, I felt inclined to do something. It's hard for me to come back here and really see that people are suffering, and we don't have to have that happen. So Jeffrey, Roy, and I began talking about where do we go from here and what do we do. And so one thing that kind of my role in all of this, along with one of my best friends, Jessica Nielsen, and my brother, Joseph Knight, is that we've went out and talked to people in the community, and we have created a community support group called Healing Heart Circle. recently, one of the lovely Franklin High School graduates and I worked together on her senior project, and we went into the community and we talked to parents and siblings and teachers of kids who have an addiction right now or who have lost their battle with addiction. And while we interviewed them, every story was similar, but it was different. Maybe they had a history in their family, maybe they were an athlete, maybe they weren't, maybe it started with prescription medication. But I think the one thing that was most significant was that every single person talked to us because they had a little bit of hope. They might have been sad, they might have been hurt, they might have been confused, but they had hope. They had hope that maybe they weren't going to get better or their child wasn't going to get better, but they didn't want their next door neighbor to continue to hurt, or they didn't want another family to feel like they did. And so I think in that moment, I really realized that if we don't get together and we don't talk with each other and we don't help bring people out of the margins and out of the shadows, then there's no way that we can begin to heal. And so what Healing Hearts Circle is a community support group that allows a space for healing. Instead of a space for talking about grief and sadness, it's a place where we can get to know each other, understand that you're around people that have suffered similar pains and have gone through similar circumstances, and that not only are we there to kind of to spend time getting to know each other and share those hard experiences, but also grow from them. There's healing in doing, there's healing in sharing, and there's hope in all of those things. Every single person here is here because they want the best for their child. They grew up in Franklin, or they raised their family in Franklin because they wanted the best. They wanted their child to succeed, they wanted their child to play sports, they wanted their child to be part of clubs and organizations and maybe go to college, get a trade, do well in life. And so I refuse to believe that that cannot happen, but it will only happen if we get together. It will only happen if we share our stories, and every single story that I've heard has to do with hope. So I am hopeful, and it seems like all of you are hopeful, that we can make a difference and we can get together and everyone here is willing to work with you. So please let us know how we can help you, and we are absolutely willing to do it.
I hope you don't find it rude of me, but I have been sharing some texts while I'm up here, and one of the beauties of technology, I learned that the front door of the auditorium leading from the outside was locked, and Governor's Councilor Robert Jubenville happened to be locked out of the building, and I wanted him to say hello to everybody here tonight. You know, as a member of the Governor's Council, if you are, they approve of the judges that sit on the bench in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And there's one question that I can guarantee you that Councilor Bob Jubenville asks every candidate for judicial office in Massachusetts. And it's the question, what do you know about opiate abuse? And no judge gets through that panel unless they answer his particular question. So he's a very big champion on that particular topic. So wanted to say hello and thank you for coming, Bob. Our next speaker is Matt Dowling, who was born and raised here in Franklin. He's a recovering addict, and he reached out to me and said, how can I help in this particular effort? I said, well, if you come and share your story, that will make a world of difference. So with that, I ask Matt.
Wow, thank you very much. My name's Matt. I grew up in Franklin. I'm a drug addict. I grew up a perfectly normal life, loving parents, loving family. Everything was normal. We had a good house, good friends, and it looked like everything I was going on to live a good life. I started out probably in the 6th or 7th grade, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, those types of things. And then probably around high school, I was introduced to cocaine. We started doing cocaine. And we did that for a couple years, and that never really owned me like opiates did. Like, we would do cocaine and drugs on the weekends, but never to the point when I got out of high school, when I got introduced to Oxycontin, which is an opiate, which controlled my life and made me do things that I regret. I stole, cheated, robbed, did whatever I could just to get it. I did Oxycontin for probably 2 to 3 years, and then graduated right up on the list onto heroin, just like a lot of people do. I did heroin for another 2 to 3 years. I finally got caught breaking into a house, and that's when the whole chain of recovery started. Obviously my parents knew, the cops knew. So after that, the people that I got caught breaking into the house didn't press any charges. I'm pretty lucky I got off the hook. I started going to detox. And I'd go to detox for maybe 3 to 5 days, and I'd stay clean for probably about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, enough to try and get my parents off my back a little bit because they'd be all over me. And then once I could get a little bit of trust back or something, I'd go right back out again and start doing the same thing over and over until I get caught again, and then the same thing would go over and over. I'd go back to detox, blah, blah, blah. This went on for probably about 2 years, in and out of treatment programs, doing drugs, doing all those things. And I don't know how or why, like I decided to get clean. Finally, I found out about this place in New Hampshire. It's a 30-day rehab, and it teaches the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I went there and I got out of there and I relapsed again. And I was doing good for a little bit. So then another time passes and I go back to that rehab, and this time I don't know what to do. My parents don't know what to do. They said they're cutting me off, they're kicking me out, and they said they'd give me one last chance. And I went there. I tried my best. I still wasn't even all in. I still loved, as much as I hated getting high, being sick all the time and stuff, I still loved it. I was still obsessed about it. Even though I knew all the consequences that were going to come, I would still love to do it. And then I went to a sober house in Wakefield. It's called Number 16. I love that place. That place like saved my life. I stayed there for 8 months. I still live in Wakefield now. I'm like best friends with all the people that I went through the house with. They do the step process too there. And now I have 5 years clean, and I live a normal life now. I have a girlfriend. I'm cool with all my friends, my family. I have a full-time job, and I'm finally, for once, drugs don't own me anymore. At no point in time, I go to bars with my girlfriend and her friends, and they'll drink. And at no point in time do I ever think like I want to drink. Drugs and alcohol do not own me anymore, and I'm free from the obsession with drugs and alcohol. And really, I just wanted to come here today or tonight to say if anyone in this room is suffering, or you know someone suffering, you can talk to me after the meeting. I can give you my phone number, and I'd love to help in any way that I could. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and certainly his story stands for hope, and if the treatment is there and available and the support mechanism is there, you can get over it, and thank you for sharing that. Our next speaker is Roy Scipione, and he's a pharmacist from the CVS here in Franklin, Massachusetts, and he's going to talk to us about what he sees from the pharmacy and some of the problems that arise there and some of the solutions that he has in mind. Roy?
Thanks for having me come here today. I'm a Franklin resident, have been for a long time, and always tried to do the best I could to help the people of Franklin, and this is a good opportunity for me to give back a little bit. So I'm here mostly to talk about naloxone or Narcan. It's a medicine that we have, and we've always had it, but it's a narcotic antagonist, and what it does is it takes the medicine, the opiates that it's in the system, and combines with it and takes it out. The only way that it really does work is if there's opiates in the system. The people that need the medicine can get it from the EMTs, the police department, things like that. But as evidenced as beginning this last year or two, they've made it available to pharmacies. And what we can do is we can make this Narcan available to people, families, friends, so that they can get the antagonist in the system of someone that's overdosed. I have standing orders from the doctors who have allowed us as pharmacists to dispense this medicine without really a prescription. We can go that route too, but it gives the ability of family and friends to help with people that have opiate addictions. It comes in a couple different ways. It comes in a nasal spray, so it's an injectable medicine with a nasal adapter, and we're able to dispense it like that with instructions so that it's not really that complicated to use. It also comes in a injectable form that's just come out, and it's kind of a neat little thing. It's like an EpiPen. If you know what EpiPens are, you just put it to the thigh and the medicine goes in and it combines with that opiate that's in the system, and it removes the bad effects from the opiates. I've seen it work a couple of times in clinical settings, and it's remarkable how things turn around when you give this medicine. But it's our way of, and pharmacy's way of giving back a little bit, making those things available, and I'm glad that we can help out. You know, pharmacy's tough because we want to do the right thing by people. We want to make sure that if they're in pain, they're getting their medicines. But the other part of that too is that we know what happens down the road and the availability of those things. So this Narcan is our way, I think, of giving back a little bit, making sure that those things are available, and trying to help the people. So that's it.
Now, early on in this process of putting together the coalition, a family had reached out to me to chat about some things that had gone on in their life, and ways that they wanted to be involved in this coalition because of what happened in their family and because of their love of this community and wanting to see things help. And it's Karen and Kara Quartermanch who are right there in the front row. They had me over the house on a nice Sunday evening. We were sitting outside next to this beautiful pool and drinking iced tea, and we had a great conversation. But they told me about a gentleman that had saved their family, and he's going to speak to you now. His name is Reinhard Straub. He's from the American Addiction Centers, and ask him please come up and say a few words.
Boy, I'd love to have you in a room when I was doing an intervention on a family with your addict. I'll tell you, you people are tenacious. It's fantastic to see the family. When the family hits the bottom, that's when the addict has a chance to get clean and sober. But without you, I'm dead in the water when I'm working with the family. Without leverage, without that thing that makes somebody who's really not thinking straight start thinking straight, just enough to get into the car and go to treatment. I didn't get sober because I thought it was a good idea. I did not. I got sober because I was threatened with divorce. Now, I go to rehab, and I get sober, and she divorces me anyway. So, the moral to the story is that I went for one reason, but I got sober and stayed sober for my own personal reason. the spiritual nature of recovery is to figure out why you're on the planet. And that takes a lot of work. Right now, treatment has devolved into spin-dry systems where you're there for 6 days and then you wonder where the heck you're going to go, and the next thing you know, you're back. Your family goes, "You're back here? What do we do with you?" I had a wonderful conversation with the doctor from the ER, just talking about how do you get people from point A to point B. It takes a village. It takes a lot. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the Northeast team here. These guys probably put close to 1,000 people into rehab every year from Connecticut, Mass, and Rhode Island. Peter Latender and I started 3 substance abuse facilities in Rhode Island, and we've merged with American Addiction Centers. Peter, could you just... Peter Barbuto is from the Boston area, and Patrick Downs. Show who you are there, Patrick. Those are the guys in the trenches that make things happen, and it's really just takes so much work. You know, if an addict has to make a second phone call to get into treatment, 50% don't make the phone call. You know, it won't happen. Handing a business card or a rehab, contact information to an addict is a waste of time. You got to make the phone call for them. You got to be very involved, proactive. I've probably put 400 doctors into rehab. Doctors are no different than plumbers. It's the same illness. It never changes. My first boss said, "Reinhard, I hope you're used to repetition because you're going to see the same thing over and over and over and over." And it's so true. A couple of months ago, I took my 15-year-old boy to the ER.